Thank you so much for coming. We're going to just let all of the members of the Academic Affairs Committee introduce themselves, and then we'll get started with our presentation. I think a better title for this event would have been everything you wanted to know about Courseleaf, but we're afraid to ask.
I like that. I like that.
So, Charlene, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Charlene Baselice. I am the catalog editor, and I am the person that if you need to ask anything about Courseleaf, you come to me and ask me Courseleaf. I've been here for 5 years, and that's all I've been doing for 5 years is the catalog and Courseleaf. So, pretty much know it.
And believe me, she's just such a wealth of resources. I mean, she's just wonderful. I'm Teresa Fay-Hillier. I am the interim academic affairs chair. So that's what I'm doing right now. I thought it was supposed to be a little quieter and easier, but that doesn't always happen.
My name is Meg Lockard. I am a committee member on the CNHP Academic Affairs Committee.
I'm Elise Panzera. I'm also a committee member on Academic Affairs. I am newer, not the newest member, but very new in this committee. So if I don't know the answer, I'll go to for people to help me until I figure it out.
Great.
Did you want me to?
Yeah, I just with you, Teresa.
Is it actually? I thought this was Elise. Well, I don't know. It's fine.
Okay.
Well, so this is just. I think we have. We're flipping the SharePoint, right, Darin? And so at this point, this should be actually on the SharePoint, the members. We actually are in the process of needing to reconfigure. We've lost a couple players. And so at this point, this is our committee, but we're probably going to be reaching out to get some committee members. So that's something we might want to do at some point.
And I think everybody in the room you guys are all staff. So if you hear of faculty members that are looking for service obligations, we try to be
opportunities?
It's an opportunity. Yeah, it's an opportunity.
And I don't know, is this you?
Yeah. You could write.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So here, this is just our bylaws. I think that this is really important for if you're not sure of why we do what we do. We're not doing it because we enjoy giving people pain or extra work, but this is our responsibility. Really, our role is to ensure the integrity of the programs. The syllabi are where they need to be. The programs are where they need to be in order to ensure that what we put forward will ultimately be approved. So there's times when we flip things back for many reasons, but really it's ultimately so that when it goes up to the next level, it's going to get approved, right? It takes a lot longer when that doesn't happen. We also are all faculty as well, that are reviewing these, the syllabi, the programs. And we do sometimes ask questions because that's part of our responsibility too. It's almost like part of our responsibility is to peer review. Not to question the integrity of your program, but to really look at the bigger picture, to just clarify things. Because honestly, on the other campus, they'll do that. So we need to make sure that we support that process. And so I really think that's what that is. And this is
so we're super busy. We've been busy here within the college, and I know in the next slide I'll show you at least some sense of how what we do filters out to the university as a whole. But we've done, for this academic cycle, 52 program revisions, 3 new programs, 44 program revisions, and 5 program inactivations, and 273 courses, 58 new courses, which take the most time to sort of look at most in detail. Course revisions, 181. Many of those were just some administrative changes to shift them to different accounting lines, and course inactivations. And then these numbers are a little outdated. I'm sure they're more current now.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's okay. But so what we're doing is funneling into the larger committees, which we'll talk about in a little more detail. So we're looking to make sure that they're coded correctly, that they've got all the right elements, and trying to do a cursory review early so that things don't get too far down the pipe and then they need to roll back for whatever reason.
And I think this is.
And Charlene, I think this is you.
Okay, so the way that the whole entire Courseleaf process starts is when you go into Courseleaf, and Courseleaf is the system, and I think I know some of you from different training, but Courseleaf is the system that creates the catalog. And it has course proposals and program proposals. And every program or course proposal that comes into the system goes through a workflow. And we have the college workflow, which is predefined by your college and then within your department. And then we have the university workflow. So it goes through your college, and I have a chart in here that shows the exact workflow. But what happens is at the end of the workflow, the Courseleaf system is connected directly to Banner and also into DegreeWorks. It's not directly connected, but the gentleman from Academic Information and Systems uses Courseleaf to update DegreeWorks. So if you see something wrong in DegreeWorks, it has to be fixed in Courseleaf. If you see something wrong in Banner, it has to be fixed in Courseleaf. And right, the beginning steps, right. Okay, so that's the actual workflow. And you'll see the first couple of steps are through your college. The third step is called CL Review, stands for Courseleaf Review. That's me. I'm the only one that takes a look at every single one of these proposals that come through. So all 1,200 of them or 1,500 of them that come through, they come through me. We have this next step, which is now, as of a week ago, no longer called the Academic Coordination Committee. That now, it has a new name. It is now called the New Program Review Committee, so that you know exactly what that committee does. That committee is looking at every single new program proposal that comes in. And it's strictly administrative. We're not looking at the curriculum at all. And it has representatives, the registrar attends, the bursar's office, financial aid, AIS, ISSS, International Student Service, whatever they are, grad college, the provost's office, the chair of SCAA, Steve DiPietro from Assessment and Accreditation, all of these administrative people, and we're all looking at your programs. For example, I was just in a meeting this morning about your SIP code. A SIP code is a classification of instructional program, and that's one of the questions on the form is what's the SIP code? And there's a way to find your SIP code, but that SIP code is really important for ISSS, because if your program is designated as a STEM program, international students can actually stay here longer if they're enrolled in a SIP code or in a STEM designated program. So again, that's this administrative group. We look at things like, are you mixing semester programs and semester courses and quarter courses into your program? Do you have a market analysis? Is there a market for this? We've seen programs where the market analysis comes in and says, there's no market for this, but yet the program still wants to run. We make sure things like that there are letters of support from your dean, letters of support from Susan Aldridge if it's a duo program. So we're looking at it purely administratively at that level. Once it goes through that group, then it goes into SCAA. I actually hit the approve button, and it either goes to the grad subcommittee or the undergrad subcommittee. And that the chair of those subcommittees then take that workload and distribute it among SCAA members. And then those SCAA members review your proposals for the academic part of it. And then that SCAA meets every other week. So there's an SCAA meeting tomorrow. So the subcommittees come to SCAA and with their recommendations to approve or not approve a program. At the subcommittee level, if they have problems or questions, they will contact you, or I work with the grad subcommittee and I would contact you. And we could contact you for things like, you have a course, a brand new course, sounds an awful lot like another course by another department. Did you get a sign off from them? For example, I know a couple of years there was statistics for nursing. Statistics for nursing needed to have sign off from the math department because it needed to be that it different enough that the math department didn't need to run that. So there's a lot of little things like that. that the SCAA looks at. And then they vote, and then it goes to the full faculty senate. And faculty senate meets monthly. Courses go on the consent agenda, and edited programs go on the consent agenda. New programs go before faculty senate twice. So again, part of the reason that this process takes a really long time is a lot of these committees only meet once a month. And so if you get something in, I always tell everybody the timing is really critical, because if you put something in the day before the committee meets, you've got to wait till the next time the committee meets. So faculty senate meets monthly, and brand new programs get what's called 2 readings. It goes on their agenda for first reading, where it just is, here's all the new programs this cycle, take a look at them. And then it goes on to the second reading. And I think some of you have been at those faculty senate meetings. If it's going for a second reading, you'll get an email from me inviting you to attend the meeting, to be there to answer any questions that faculty senate may have. And they will not approve a program unless there's a representative from the program at that second reading. And those meetings are monthly.
Do they need to be there in person, or do they ever do them virtually via Zoom?
You can do through Zoom, it's fine, yeah, they're totally fine through Zoom. Once faculty senate approves it, then it goes to the provost's office, which is myself, and I work in the provost's office, I'm part of that provost office. So the interim vice provost for undergraduate education, Shalanti Anandan, is who I report to, and she and I then look at every single proposal all over again, just to make sure that everything is filled out correctly. And then she clicks the approve button. And then it goes to this other queue, AIS First Law Registrar of Financial Aid, and they do what they need to do, whether that's updating in degree works, or letting, I don't know, the bursar set it up for billing, or whatever they have to be done. And then then it gets ready for me to put it into the catalog. And so then I also, at that point, which is what I'm working on now, is creating the actual web page for that new program. And then I'll send everybody an email that says, is this okay? Approve it or not approve it.
So the submission deadlines are still TBD. It's nice to know that that meeting is coming soon, so we will know what those dates are. These were the submission deadlines that are currently posted on the website, and they're old. Because we're currently, they should be 18, 19 year or things, and they're 17, 18. So what we began to implement here at our college was, following these same general guidelines, we pushed all of our deadlines back about a month so that we have a little more time to do our due diligence, make sure that everything in your proposal is clear and understandable and organized, and it's got all the right elements. But we'll go through those things in more detail. So let's see,
Is that, what number is this?
I think this is 11.
Okay.
So I think
I could do this with Joanne, right, is that what, so here's a nice way, and I think this is in our shared point.
Right. Well, I mean, so here are the links that are relevant to everybody. Here is a link to our current SharePoint site, and here's a link to our, we're going to have a SharePoint site in the new SharePoint, which is still under development. Let me just quickly show you what those look like. So let me just see here. Syllabus checklist, faculty resources, and the CNHP. So here's the syllabus checklist.
And I think the biggest thing is that as a committee, we pull this out and we look at it, and we look to see if all the items are there or not. So that's what we're doing when we do a review of a syllabus. I mean, we look at this checkpoint. We also then might make comments that are unique to CNHP and say something's missing. Sometimes we know that it's not a game stopper on the main campus, but it's something as a college that we've agreed to have on the syllabus. So that's why we might put something back. But sometimes what we'll say is, this is a nice to, we recommend that you do this, but, you know, but there's some things that aren't a nice to, they're a need to, and that's what we look at.
Oh, no, I was just saying also, that's another thing that I review. All of the syllabi that come in, I have 2 monitors and I pull the checklist up on one and I open your syllabus on the other, and I make sure that you have everything. And if you don't, you will hear from me. I don't like to roll proposals back because it just adds to the length of time it takes for things to get through, because then it has to go for committees and everything else again. So if all you're doing is missing the grading scale, and you guys, because you have your template, it's very rare that you miss anything. But occasionally, you know, if there's something got popped off accidentally, you'll get an email from me saying, you know, please update your syllabus or fix your syllabus. I'm not allowed to touch them because they're owned by the faculty. So that's when I will then contact you to have correct whatever needs to be corrected.
I just want to draw your eye to a couple of things here. Ignore these dates because they're all old. But over here on the right-hand side, these PDFs, they're a little outdated, but they give you a really detailed step-by-step guide to answer just about any question that you might have about how to code something, especially in program revisions. Oftentimes I'll find that the editing program proposals PDF is missing some elements because they assume they're already there. But if you go to the creating new program proposals PDF, that'll fill in a lot of the other gaps that are missing from that other. Charlene told me just before we started that these are going to be revised at some point in the future.
Right.
That's under discussion.
They've added some additional fields to the proposal form since I created those. So I just have to update. And then the meeting that I was in this morning, they want to make more tweaks to the proposal form. So once we get those ironed out, I think we're going to work on those after the catalog publishes. So we should have those hopefully updated by the end of the summer.
And I just want to draw your eye here. So this is our current, in the old style 2010 SharePoint site. Here are the dates for the academic year that we're finishing out right now. As we have our meetings scheduled, we'll update them here. And here's just sort of a brief summary of the process. I'm hoping to share our minutes in the new SharePoint site, which is still under development, so that you guys have a better sense of where we are and what progress we're making. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Any questions so far?
I think one thing about the syllabi is sometimes is it old syllabi
Yes.
are posted up there?
Yes.
So make sure when you post the syllabus it's actually the
New.
current syllabus for the course that you're actually proposing. Because sometimes we have syllabi that are old and there are things that are incorrect, and it's just we find.
Can I tag off of that in terms of the syllabi? Don't delete anything. Don't remove the old syllabi from the proposal. We keep all of that in there for the record. When I save syllabi, like when somebody sends me a syllabus that needs correcting, I put the date on it. I usually do, you know, whatever the course number is, and then maybe an abbreviation of the title, and then I will do like _ 20 May 2019, and that way I know. And then in the justification, I say uploaded most current syllabi, PDF dated 20 May 2019, and then that way the reviewer knows exactly which is the most current syllabus to look at. So if you want to put a date on your syllabus, that's really helpful for the reviewers when there are several old versions of the syllabus in there. Even if you don't want to put the date, but you want to put the academic year that this syllabus is supposed to be used for, that's also very helpful.
I think, you know what, thank you for reminding us about the justification, and that's really important that something's documented. There's many times where something comes to us, we don't know why it's there or what the purpose was. And we've had faculty who spend a lot of time reviewing a whole program thinking it was a new program, and it wasn't, and there was just some minor, adjustment that they wanted to be done. So it's really helpful. Thank you so much for reminding us that to also always, if you're going to put it in Courseleaf, why are you doing this? And to document that would be really helpful, because it helps us direct our resources the appropriate way. But I'm sure that happens to you sometimes, where something comes in and you're not really sure, and we're trying to figure that out, and having the most recent syllabi, and if the most recent syllabi was 10 years ago, that's concerning. So that's why, you know, it's a way to peer review the most recent one to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, it's all you now.
It's all you.
Oh, okay. What am I looking for? I am looking for, on your course proposals, everything that's on the syllabus checklist. If it's not there, you'll get an email from me. And also making sure if you're updating, if you're making a change to the course and you're changing the syllabus, make sure that you update the syllabus. If the syllabus is from 10 years ago and it says, 2011 in the syllabus, and you're going to use this for 2019, make sure you change the syllabus to make it 2019. If it still says 2011 on it, I have to contact you and say, can you please, and if it takes you a week to fix it and it falls off of the cycle, it could be another month before it gets back on the agenda. So one of the things I try to tell people is don't ignore emails that come in from Courseleaf, or don't ignore emails that come in from me. Because usually it's something that's really critical to the review process. And the longer it takes you to get back to me, it could really throw off how long it takes your change to get reviewed and approved. What other things? The other thing, if you can go back for 1 second, the other thing that is really kind of crazy, sometimes you'll put the percentages of, this, 80% of the grade is for this, and 15% is this. Make sure those add up to be 100%. You'd be surprised the amount of syllabi that I have to send back because they've added up, written reports are 20% and whatever presentation is 15%, and you're off by 10%. And SCAA sits there and they add those up. So if you're off by 10%, you're going to get your syllabus bounce back. So little tiny things like that. You really need to make sure that all of that will get your syllabus kicked back. Policy links, prerequisites, especially following the course of activation. Okay. So this is really critical when you're changing your, I'm trying to remember what my point
Well,
is.
oftentimes when courses are being inactivated,
Yes.
they'll arrive at your desk and you can't do anything about them because the courses are still linked.
They're still used. So what happens is when you inactivate a course, there is this section down here at the bottom that says other courses referencing this course, or it may even say other programs referencing this course. It tells you where that course is being used. So if, for example, Nursing 320, you've decided you're going to get rid of Nursing 320, you need to, Nursing 223. Let's say you're going to inactivate Nursing 223. Nursing 223 is a prerequisite for Nursing 320. So you need to go to the Nursing 320 proposal, and you need to decide if that Nursing 320 Nursing 223 is being replaced by another number or coming out completely. And you're going to need to fix those course proposals as well, because the system doesn't automatically take them out. The same thing holds true if you're inactivating a course that's used in a program. And everybody says, well, why doesn't it just take it out automatically? Because let's just say you have an undergrad degree that's 180 credits. That's the minimum number that's required. If psychology has decided they're going to get rid of psychology 243, and that's a requirement for your program, if the system took it out automatically, your program is now 177 credits, and you don't know about it. So what happens is, there'll be a gray box, and it'll say, this course is used in this program. You need to then contact the program. Let's just say your Nursing 223 is used in a public health program. You need to contact public health and say, we're getting rid of Nursing 223. It's in your public health BS. You need to take it out. You need to attach that communication, that email, to the proposal, the inactivation proposal. to let us know, okay, you've contacted public health, you've done your due diligence, it's up to them. And then I chase them down if they haven't taken it out. I bug them until they take it out.
One other thing that I would just want to add here is this course has an awful lot of prerequisites. I think of prerequisites kind of like a lock or a key in a lock. And if you don't have all the things lined up, the student will never be able to self-register for that class. So when you're advising your faculty to adjust their syllabus, make sure that they choose the correct number of prerequisites, but not every single course that you took beforehand. Because if it's every single course, then if a student has dropped out and comes back, they may not have met that prerequisite and they're gonna have a difficult time registering for classes. Okay.
Just one addition to what Charlene said is when you're putting this documentation up in Courseleaf, it says, so it's usually an email chain. You emailed somebody and said, we're getting rid of this course, is that okay with you? And then, so you have this email chain. So it's very helpful when you post that up there, again, if you title that file with the reference to the course and the date. Because as Charlene was saying before, everything stays up there, all those attachments stay up there forever. And then when you're reviewing something, it's really hard. You're like, and you're reading these things, and then at some point in time, you realize that, oh, this isn't relevant. This was from 4 years ago. But when there's no dates attached to it, sometimes the only way you catch on is because the person who's responding to this email doesn't work here anymore. This can't be, but you waste a humongous amount of time, and you might actually make a wrong decision that creates confusion. But just simply how you title these files, if it's a course and the date, it's just so important. It saves a humongous amount of time and labor.
So just to sort of add on, when we're inactivating courses, we can't inactivate them until all the dependencies have been separated. So that means you have to go to those individual courses, modify proposals for them to break those connections.
Right, because if you go back, so what happened, the way the system works is, this particular course, PDHL 333, is active in all of those programs. Once it is removed from public health minor comes off of that. I won't see that. So what I need to see is, a course in activation that does not have programs referencing this course section on there. As soon as it says that, then I know that course is still used in a program. But if that section is gone, then that inactivated course is not listed anywhere. And then SCAA will approve it. They will not approve it if it's still being used in a program. And I have a couple that are still hanging on, where I've been asking them for like the last 4 months to take it out, and we can't approve that inactivated course. If an inactivated course doesn't get approved, it's still going to show in the catalog. And students are going to see it, and they may oh, this sounds like a really good course, and it looks like it's available, but then they go to register for it and they can't because it's not really available.
Yeah, I mean, there are oftentimes courses that are just not in the galley, in the schedule.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, with inactivating courses, course numbers, if you know you're not going to teach a course for a while, you want to go in and inactivate it, because course numbers cannot be reused for 7 years. That's a registrar rule. And it's not 7 years from when you stopped teaching it, it's 7 years from when it became inactivated in Courseleaf. So if you have a course that you haven't taught for 3 years, and you know you're never going to teach it again, you're holding up the availability of that course number. So it's 7 years from when it gets approved in the system to be able to use that number again.
You made, in your notes to me, you said something about understanding the course numbering policy. And I wanted to make sure that I understood what you meant. Was it just simply this?
Just so that you know.
Lower level courses, 100.
Right.
Second, undergraduate can really be between 100 and 499.
Yeah.
Graduate courses, 500 and 600. upper level graduate courses, 700 and 800.
And the other thing too is the special topics numbers were all redone a few years ago by the registrar's office. I'm still finding stragglers that are in proposals where the topics number is still the wrong number. So all the special topics are like
Independent studies are I something 99.
199, I 299, I 399, I 499, and so on. Special topics are T. So you have T 180, T 280, T 380, T 480. So as you're looking through your program, make sure that you don't have a remnant of an old special topics number. Occasionally, I will find a program proposal that hasn't been updated for 5 years, and they're now making a change to it, and it's got an old special topics number in it. And so we have to go in and take that out as well.
Yeah, the funky place that you see those are sometimes in the list of degree requirements, and occasionally, rarely in the plan of study as a specific course. Do you want to speak about cross-listing a little bit? Like what you need to keep in mind when you're cross-listing a course? Other than they have the same number.
Yeah.
And there's some guidelines if you go to this link that'll tell you what the requirements need to be for courses that are appropriate for students, courses that are going to bridge undergraduate to graduate.
And the other thing you want to make sure is that you don't put one syllabus in for both the undergrad version and the grad version. SCAA wants 2 separate syllabi. They want an undergrad version and they want a grad version because they want to make sure that the content on the graduate version is ramped up a little bit more for a graduate student. You're not giving the graduate student the undergrad work. It needs to be for a graduate student.
One thing that I found really useful when I was trying to get myself up to speed on program stuff is I went to the DegreeWorks site for AIS, and they have some really great videos which show you how things appear on a student's DegreeWorks audit. So as you're thinking about changes you want to make to your program proposals, thinking about like, okay, so I want to make sure that students can take for a history elective something that's range 200 to 299, HIST 200 to 299. If you watch that video, it's only like 10 minutes long. It'll give you some insight as to how Cody at the end of the line in AIS will be interpreting the information that we are providing through the course and program changes. So begin with the end in mind. Look at how it's going to show up on a student's audit and see how you might be able to code it so that it's more reflective of what the students are going to see on there. It helps your advisors too. When I started here, it wasn't that process wasn't quite as visible as it is now, and it takes, as people become more familiar with it, I think it's making students' lives better. Do you agree? To those people who advise students? Yeah.
My goal is hopefully at the end of the summer, I will also have videos of Courseleaf training so that I don't have to hold training all the time. You can just go to a specific, the discussion is doing it through BB Learn and actually have little modules. And so if you're only going to be updating courses, then you only have to do that little 10-minute video module and you don't have to sit through my 2-hour-long training. That's, again, after the catalog publishes. That's a summer project. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, in your copious amount of stretch.
Yeah.
Let's see. So when you're looking at a proposal, you're making sure that they're complete, or at least complete as they can be.
Yes, and making sure that, and I think a really critical thing, and people don't seem to understand it, but there's a section that says minimum credits required for that degree. Then you have your degree requirements table, and then you have your sample plan of study. It's really important that all 3 of those areas match. So for example, if your master's program is 45 credits, make sure up above it says it's 45 credits. Make sure that your degree requirements say 45 credits. Make sure your sample plan of study says 45 credits and not 42. If it says 42 in your plan of study, you're missing a course. And so that's one of the things that I check to make sure if it's off. I had a situation today where I was looking at a proposal, it was off by 1 credit. They were 181 in the degree requirements list and 180 in the plan of study. Well, they miscalculated or they didn't add in enough free elective credits. But I don't know where you want that extra credit, what term you want that to be in. So again, I've got to contact you and say, where do you want that extra credit to go? And if that person isn't here or doesn't get back to me for 2 weeks, it further delays the approval process.
So here's contact information if you need someone to do your, is it market analysis?
Market analysis, because all new programs are required to have a market analysis. And the person that was doing them, he has left the university. So it's now those 2 people. Angela Montgomery, even though she's the assistant dean of graduate admissions, she's also doing the undergrad MZ reports as well. And then Nadine as in Duo. The other thing with the Duo programs, you also need a letter of support from Dr. Susan Aldridge. Let's see.
Oh, so if you're making a new program and you need to know what the codes are, reach out to AIS. I think it's AIS student, is it?
It's actually IS now. Or it still looks accepted for AIS. IS_student@drexel.edu. And your program codes for Courseleaf are based on the name of your program. So if you ever look at a program title and a code, like Harry Weimer, she takes like the first letter of every word in your title up to 4, and that's how she makes the code. So you need to at least know what you're calling your program in order to get the program code. You also need a 3-year budget projection. And if you go out to the SCAA website, there's a template for that. There's an Excel document. You need your assessment plan. Again, there's a template for an assessment plan. You need a letter of support from your dean or deans if it's inter-college, thank you. Something that they're discussing now, it's not a definite, and I put it up there to kind of give you a heads up, is a lot of colleges use a sequence sheet where, I don't know if you guys use a sequence sheet, but I know
Say more.
a sequence sheet is sort of like your plan of study, but it looks like it's kind of like a plan of study. Just some colleges refer to it as a sequence sheet. But so the catalog, we list everything terms 1 through 12. The sequence sheet shows fall term 1, fall, winter, spring. Some of the reviewers from SCAA are finding the way it is in the catalog a little difficult to follow. So they're asking for a sequence sheet to help them figure out. And it's especially important because in the catalog we don't put in where co-op lands, but the sequence sheet shows where co-op lands. And so they can kind of understand better. If you're having one course in one term, it makes sense to show, well, this is also when we're doing co-op. So that's not a requirement yet. It's still under discussion.
I mean, if you're, like a couple of years ago in creative arts therapy, we did a major curricular change. And in that change, we were taking some existing courses and merging them together into new ways. So I created one hand was the title of the list of all the courses as they currently exist, and then a crosswalk that told you what the new courses are going to be. And then I did the same thing with the plans of study as well. So you have like, here's what it is right now, and then another page that says, here's what it's going to look like once we create the new plan. So just 3 different pages on the PDF so that when we on the committee are looking at it, we have a better sense about how the pieces are all supposed to fit together and we can make sure that it's accurate or lines up with what we see in course.
And speaking of crosswalks, those are also really important. If you're going to be renumbering courses, Public Health did this. They took everything was PBHL, and then they split them into department. So they had EOH, CHP, H, whatever. It was very helpful to actually have a crosswalk uploaded to the proposal that showed PBHL 377 is now EOH 377. And it's very helpful for all of the reviewers, including AIS, to know and to make sure that we had all of the proposals for all of the courses that were being renumbered.
I guess. Yeah. I think we might need to speed up because we're running out of
Go
time.
ahead. So this is just our guidelines. I think that we're going to show you the, we'll have the PowerPoints. I mean, I think the biggest thing is for us, letting you know that, first of all, this is how we structure our review process, but that we give you dates. It's on there, right? During the months of September and October, you can expect we'll meet bi-monthly, but that will give you, you'll have a sense of, looking at this, how often we're meeting, right? So if you're behind the ball there and giving us, when you give the proposal, but you want it done right away, that's not going to happen. Just like, on the main campus, it's the same thing. And we don't meet every week, 5 times a week, 5 times, 5 times we don't meet 5 days a week, 5 days in a week, right? So we're not meeting every day, right? There you go. And I think that this is another, we've already discussed this. So it really gets back to editing. Sometimes things, if you make a mistake, and you'll say, well, it's a simple mistake, but we can't make that change for you. We have to flip it back, right? And we can't assume that it's a simple mistake. Particularly like for us as the, for faculty, the assignments and, your course contact hours and all, that needs to come from you. We can't make those changes for you. We're not there to change your assignments. That's on you. So I think that's important.
So here's just a couple of things I want to just draw your eye to. If you're trying to get advice on how to structure to make sure the credits align with how many contact hours you're delivering in a week, visit that site. There's a schedule type and credit equivalency, kind of like, it looks like this box here at the bottom, that tells you like for a 1 credit course, it needs to meet for 1 hour. If it's a lab, it's 2 to 1. But the proportions and the definitions of what to put into those individual boxes can be found at that link. Here's a common thing that happens pretty often. I get this pretty frequently. Oftentimes people will put the year that they're planning to deliver the course in those boxes where it says fall, winter, spring, and summer, and not the number of students that you anticipate enrolling in that course in fall, winter, or spring, or summer. It looks like, 2020 is 2,020 students in a single class. Well, that's kind of difficult to plan for. Another little thing in Courseleaf, those little question marks, if you click on it, sometimes it'll give you a little bit of information, but when in doubt, check to the PowerPoint or the PDFs that are on that site, which are usually pretty useful. It came up a couple of years ago that people were putting that you could repeat a course a number of times. Generally, like 0 and 1 is sort of the default. If a course is eligible to be repeated multiple times, well, there's a process in place where a student can appeal their grade so they can take it again for credit. But anyway, this is just generally this should be like 0 or 1. Don't go crazy.
This is Meg. Meg doesn't have any,
Right, go Meg, go.
So we've been making a big deal about the syllabi, but there are some situations when you do not need to post the syllabus, and they're listed there for you. So if the only thing you're changing is a pre or a co-requisite, if you're only changing a grading method, restrictions refers to any restrictions on what kind of students can take the course, and a billing code change. So if those are the only changes you're doing, then you don't have to submit a new syllabus, and it tells you what to do there. You just, where it asks you to upload a syllabus, you just put a file in that says no syllabus required at the top of the page. So that's easy.
with a date on it.
With a date.
Because the system wants you to attach something. So if you don't attach something, you're going to get an error message. So you just upload something that says no syllabus required, and then it'll go through.
Yeah, the restrictions are like include population X or exclude population X. And sometimes, especially with newer programs, if you're trying to include a certain population that doesn't show up on your drop list, you have to reach out to AIS to ask them to include it on your drop list.
And then this is my second slide. And we really kind of talked about this, the concept of crosswalk, which is really very, very helpful. And that's what Darin was talking about, where if you're changing a program, you have, it's a table. Here's the old program with the courses. Here's the new program. So it's very easy side to side. So whenever there's a question, you think, this might be a little confusing for somebody that's not immersed in it like I am, make a table. The easier you make it for us to review and figure out what you're trying to say, the easier it's going to be for you as well. So, proofread is important because you make errors and we don't know that this is an error, and it's always going to be a kickback. So sometimes I personally find it's helpful to have somebody else's eyes look at them, because if you've been working on it forever, you don't even pick up those errors.
Yeah, and the sort of things that your eyes get blind to are like if you're updating an older syllabus, you might not notice the year is wrong. You might not notice that you're referencing courses that you're inactivating. So slide it across the table to somebody who's never looked at it before to make sure it's right. This is again the naming convention suggestion. Make sure you put some marker about when you're doing it or what academic year you're planning to. Makes it easier for us when we're reviewing it to make sure we pick the right file. And that's it. Any questions? No? Hi, Jackie. I see you joined us. Do you have any questions for us?
No, sorry I had to turn you late. I'm sorry, I got stuck in a meeting. Will this PowerPoint be available after?
Yes. I'll email you the PowerPoint, or if anybody wants it, I'll email you the PowerPoint. And we're going to be recording. This session is being recorded in a couple of weeks. We'll have it loaded onto the Tuesday topic site so that you can refer to it if there's something that came up that you're curious about.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So thank you, everybody. And great. Thank you, Charlene, for coming all this way.
Thank you for all your work and effort.
I know.
It's much appreciated.